we are going to revisit the South Pacific Ocean, specifically the Tonga volcano, as the biggest earthquake in weeks has just struck the area about 100 miles from the volcano itself. But taking a look at the depth and magnitude of this earthquake is what really makes this one interesting. Just a day and a half before this earthquake, NASA releases an article, and in their own words, they claim that the Tonga volcano eruption was equivalent to an atomic bomb, maybe even stronger. It is now time to break this all down, and we're gonna do it right here, right now. Let's go. Right, my friends, January 27th, 2022, a little bit of a later video today, no problem with that. We have to talk about this earthquake. Now, you're looking at the USGS. I have a set for the last 30 days of magnitudes 4.5 and higher. That's why your screen looks a little full right now. But the reason for that is because we've had a very significant 6.2 to 6.5 earthquake striking near Pangaea, Tonga. Now, that is about 100 miles away from the Tonga volcano. Now, the reason I have this set on 30 days, 4.5 and higher, is because I want to show you that this is by far, and I mean that, by far the biggest earthquake to strike this area in over a month. So I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page that the biggest earthquake of this entire event, if it's related, I think it is, has taken place. So let's switch back to one day all magnitudes and clean up the screen a little bit. We've had 4 earthquakes of significance in this immediate area. We had the 6.2 about 9 or 10 hours ago, and before that we had a groupings of 5s, one a 5.2, the other a 5.0. Now, I said there's something interesting about this earthquake, and there is. And we're going to use Google Earth to get down into the exact location of this earthquake so we can then compare to the distance. All right, there we go, and we'll backtrack here until we can see everything we need to see. All right, and I pulled this back so we could see where the earthquake is in comparison to the volcano, and then in comparison to the island of Tonga itself. Now, when it comes to big earthquakes, this amount of distance is not going to make a big difference. We're talking about 100 miles, give or take, which is not far at all when it comes to seismic activity. I've also got Volcano Discovery pulled up here so we can compare as far as what they have for data against the USGS. And we're going to use the USGS for our first section of data here. We can see right away 6.2. This was downgraded. No surprise there. But take a look at the depth, 4.2 kilometers. Now that is a whopping 2.5, 2.6 miles deep. Very, very shallow, especially for this area. And I say that because some of the deepest earthquakes we've ever seen take place in this region of Vanuatu, New Caledonia, Fiji, Samoa. Very, very deep earthquakes here. In fact, take a look at this. The strongest deep-focused earthquake in seismic record was the magnitude 8.3 that occurred at a depth of 609 kilometers back in 2013. And the deepest earthquake ever recorded was a small 4.2 earthquake in Vanuatu at a depth of 738 kilometers. So one might say to themselves, okay, not a big deal. We get a 6.2 in an area that frequents fairly big earthquakes as a regular thing, but we need to remember we just had a massive volcano eruption, and now a few weeks removed from that, we are getting our biggest earthquakes, not only in this area, but in the entire month. And based off the fact that we had 2 precursor earthquakes to this bigger one, the 2 5s that we discussed, is showing that there is much pressure that still needs to be released from this area. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time getting all scientific on everyone here, but we need to realize that volcanoes and earthquakes are very similar things. They are pressure releases, both of which have their own potential devastating values, of course, but the same concept applies when an area is gaining a lot of pressure. And this is also why the Ring of Fire not only is the most seismic active area of the world, but it's also the highest concentration of volcanoes in the world. So in theory, when pressure is building on 2 tectonic plates or something similar along those lines, a volcanic eruption basically does the same thing as an earthquake would. It releases that pressure that is condensed in that specific area. Now, to tie this back in to what we're talking about here, and what it seems like is there was a buckle here along this fault line, as you can see, and the release took place in the middle of these 2 earthquakes. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the channel called Dutch Sense. I highly, highly recommend you guys watch his channel because you will learn so much about pressure transfers and these tectonic plates and how earthquakes and volcanoes basically feed off of each other in releasing pressure. Long story short, my friends, is we need to continuously watch this area, or at least not be surprised if something else massive happens. Not that it should anyway. As I've said in many videos, I feel like people are becoming desensitized desensitized to major events taking place globally, but nonetheless, I'll be here to bring every single one of them to you. All right, let's go over this article very quick and I'll let you guys get out of here. And I can't tell you how many people have sent me this exact article title right here. NASA says Tonga eruption was more powerful than an atomic bomb. I can assure you this was sent to me for multiple reasons, and I'm very aware this is NASA, but it's still interesting how they word things here, and I just want to go over a few key points. And just a little bit of reading here. The volcanic eruption that rocked the South Pacific Kingdom of Tonga earlier this month was hundreds of times more powerful than the atomic bomb the United States dropped on Hiroshima during World War II. Yes, this coming from NASA. I think this part right here is key. This is a preliminary estimate, but we think the amount of energy released by the eruption was equivalent to somewhat between 4 to 18 megatons of TNT, says the chief scientist at NASA. Now, this is interesting. A lot of people asking me about this part right here. For comparison, NASA scientists estimate that the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, great movie by the way, released 24 megatons of energy per CNN's blah blah blah. Tonga's recent events in the most powerful volcanic eruption on Earth is more than 30 years, following that of Mount Pinatubo in 1991. We discussed that many times in these videos. And finally, the eruption of the Tonga volcano sent a dramatic plume of ash and water vapor 25 miles into the atmosphere and generated nearly 50-foot tsunami waves. That part they held off on for a few days. We were not getting reports of those big waves, only a few feet at first. These waves hit parts of Tonga's main island and sent swells across the Pacific. The blast also severed the nation's internet cables, cutting off communication to the remote islands for days. It's always a fun time to get NASA's view on major situations across the Earth. My friends, for those of you still here, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Shout out to Canada. Got some trucks making history right now. Awesome stuff. Any questions or concerns, please leave down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all, and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.